Bill 7 is back, government forces vote despite massive pushback. What happens next? Bill 7 has returned to Parliament again. Despite protests, criticism, warnings, and legal debates, the government is pressing ahead with one of the most controversial bills in Zambia's recent political history. Zambians are divided. Civil society is alert. MPs are preparing for a high-stakes showdown. And tonight, we break down why Bill 7 is back, what changes could come, and why the government is determined to push it forward. If passed, this bill could reshape constituencies, elections, and Zambia's political landscape for years to come. So the real question is, what's driving this sudden urgency? Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. Well, we've had quite the week here in Lusaka. The rains have been sporadic, the electricity situation continues to be what it is, and yet, the nation finds itself gripped by something far more consequential. Something that has priests in their pulpits, lawyers in their chambers, and opposition leaders at State House all raising the same alarm. The revelation came to light just days ago. A constitutional amendment that was supposed to be dead, struck down by the Constitutional Court itself in June, has risen from its grave. Bill 7 is back. And this time, the government isn't asking for permission. But here's where it gets truly unsettling. What happens when a bill declared unconstitutional by the highest court returns to Parliament with barely a whisper of explanation? What happens when a government that once praised civil society for standing against Bill 10 now ridicules those same voices for opposing Bill 7? What happens when 12 opposition parties, political rivals who rarely agree on anything, unite to warn that the nation is boiling? What happens when Catholic bishops, the Law Association of Zambia, and the Oasis Forum all say the same thing? Stop. This is wrong. And the government responds by pressing forward anyway? What happens when the Constitution itself, the supreme law, becomes a political weapon rather than a sacred shield? When clauses are crafted not for the people, but for power? When consultations become theater, and democracy becomes arithmetic? And perhaps most chilling of all, what happens when a president who once stood shoulder to shoulder with civil society to defeat authoritarian amendments now stands accused of the very same tactics? The question isn't just what's in Bill 7. The question is, what are they not telling us? Factual foundation, background and timeline. The revelation came to light on December 3, 2025, when First Deputy Speaker Attractor Chisangano announced to a stunned National Assembly that Parliament would immediately resume consideration of Bill 7. Let's go back to understand how we got here. In March 2025, Minister of Justice Princess Kassoon announced a constitutional amendment process. The government said it would focus on non-contentious issues and promised a straightforward path. The bill was published on May 23, 2 days behind the original schedule. The Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill No. 7 of 2025 proposed sweeping changes. It sought to expand the National Assembly from 156 to 211 constituency-based seats, introduce a mixed-member proportional representation system, remove term limits for mayors and council chairpersons, and fundamentally alter how by-elections work. But immediately, opposition mounted. Civil society organizations questioned the process. Opposition parties cried foul. The Catholic Church expressed deep concern. The Law Association of Zambia raised constitutional objections. Then came the bombshell. On June 27, 2025, the Constitutional Court delivered a landmark ruling. Bill 7 was unconstitutional. The court ruled it failed to comply with Article 79 of the Constitution, which requires wide public consultation before any constitutional amendments. The court was clear: constitutional reforms must be people-driven, not imposed by the executive or legislature. The bill was dead. Or so everyone thought. In October 2025, President Hakainde Hichilema established a 25-member technical committee to conduct nationwide consultations. This committee traveled across all 10 provinces, collecting submissions. On December 2, the president received the report, claiming 11,860 submissions had been gathered, allegedly the highest number in any Zambian constitutional review process. Less than 24 hours later, Parliament was ordered to resume consideration of Bill 7. December 2 also saw 12 opposition parties march to State House with a scathing joint letter, warning the president that his approach constitutes a threat to national peace and security. That same day, accusations flew that MPs were being offered 3 million kwacha to support the bill, claims that remain unverified but have inflamed public sentiment. By December 3, the Select Committee was activated. The bill was back on the parliamentary floor. Direct evidence, quotes and testimony. Let me share with you what people are actually saying about this. And I want you to listen carefully to the language being used. First Deputy Speaker Attractor Chisangano told the House, "I have received communication from the Minister of Justice seeking the House to immediately resume consideration of the bill." She added that the Select Committee tasked to scrutinize the amendments commences its work immediately. Immediately. That word keeps coming up. Now, the opposition letter to President Hichilema, signed by Harry Kalaba of Citizens First and Dr. Fred Membi of the Socialist Party, didn't mince words. They wrote, "We write to you today not as adversaries, but as concerned opposition leaders who hold a profound love for our nation, Zambia. Our message is motivated by an alarming and growing national sentiment, echoed by faith leaders and the civil society, that something is wrong in the way we are living as a nation, where division and anger are slowly replacing our cherished unity and oneness." Then they got specific. "Mr. President, we are particularly disturbed by your reckless claim that those opposed to this non-inclusive, rushed and politically engineered constitution amendment process hate you because of your tribe. Such a statement is unfortunate, dangerous, and unbecoming of one who holds the highest office in the land. It is an attempt to weaponize regional sentiment and sow seeds of tribal mistrust for personal political gain." They concluded with this warning. "Your actions surrounding Bill 7 constitute a real and immediate threat to national peace, security, and unity. But the government has its defenders." Government spokesperson Cornelius Mwikwa warned at a morning briefing that leaving Article 52 in its current form is a direct risk of a constitutional crisis in 2026. He argued that last-minute withdrawals from the presidential race could derail ballot printing and create unfair advantages. Mwikwa was dismissive of critics, those saying Bill 7 gives President Hichilema more powers lack seriousness and need to introspect. The religious divide is particularly striking. While Catholic bishops and the Council of Churches in Zambia have called for withdrawal of the bill, other church groups, including SDA clergy and Pentecostal networks, have publicly rebuked what they call entitlement in the constitutional debate. Pastors who appeared at a State House meeting on December 1 framed their stance bluntly: "No church is more Zambian than another." They argued that thousands participated across the provinces and their views must not be silenced because a small group refused to take part. Meanwhile, MP Given Kat Yuta responded to the Select Committee composition by saying, "Looking at the composition of this committee, I can only tell Zambians to pray harder for divine mercy." And then there's this from Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, who warned about what he calls the most dangerous clause in Bill 7, the provision that political parties would appoint replacements when MPs die or resign. He said this creates incentives for assassination and witchcraft to eliminate political rivals, since parties, not voters, would fill vacancies. His exact words, "This clause can encourage assassinations, witchcraft, and undermine the will of the people." Deeper analysis. So what's really happening here? Let's dig deeper. Bill 7 isn't just about adding more MPs or creating reserved seats for women, youth, and people with disabilities. Those aspects sound progressive on paper. But critics argue the devil is in the details. First, the issue of power concentration. The bill proposes that when an MP dies, resigns, or is disqualified, their political party simply appoints a replacement. No by-election. No consultation with constituents. This fundamentally changes the relationship between voters and their representatives. It shifts power from the people to party headquarters. Second, the timing. With the 2026 general election just months away, critics argue this bill is designed to give the ruling UPND a structural advantage. The expansion from 156 to 211 constituencies is based on a delimitation report that the government has kept secret. Opposition figures claim this report heavily favors regions where the UPND is strong: southern, western, and northwestern provinces. One analyst wrote, if Bill 7 becomes law, the UPND could secure 95 constituency-based seats in just 3.5 provinces before the election even begins. Combined with proportional representation seats and nominated MPs, they could control 167 seats in a 216-member assembly, effectively a supermajority that could change any law, including presidential term limits. Third, the constitutional crisis. Here's something most Zambians don't fully understand. The Constitutional Court already ruled Bill 7 unconstitutional in June. The government's response wasn't to fundamentally change the bill or restart the process. Instead, they established a technical committee, conducted consultations, and then brought essentially the same bill back to Parliament. Legal expert John Sangwa has argued that Bill 7 does not exist in law because the Constitutional Court struck it down. He warns Zambia is heading toward a constitutional crisis if Parliament proceeds with a bill the court has already invalidated. Fourth, the question of consultation. The government claims 11,860 submissions represent the highest participation in any constitutional review process in Zambia's history. But critics point out that quantity doesn't equal quality or legitimacy. Many of these submissions came from government-organized forums. The Oasis Forum, which represents major civil society groups, refused to participate, arguing the process was fundamentally flawed from the start. Transparency International Zambia put it bluntly, the bill claims to promote inclusion through a new electoral model, but beneath the surface, it raises serious concerns. While it reserves a few seats for marginalized groups, it also expands parliament by 90 seats, most of which will go to those already in power. The bill increases presidential influence, removes by-elections, weakens local government, and undermines transparency in the delimitation process. Fifth, the political arithmetic. Parliament needs a two-thirds majority to pass constitutional amendments. The UPND doesn't have those numbers on its own. They need opposition support. And this is where it gets interesting. Some PFMPs are reportedly tempted to support the bill because new constituencies reduce electoral competition. The creation of new seats is a political lifeline for those fighting for survival. If even a fraction of PFMPs break ranks, the opposition coalition collapses. The battle over Bill 7 has also exposed deep divisions within civil society and religious institutions. The unified front that defeated Bill 10 in 2020 no longer exists. Some church groups support the government. Others oppose it fiercely. This fragmentation weakens the opposition's moral authority. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect is the language now dominating national discourse. President Hichilema has suggested critics oppose him because of his tribe. Opposition leaders accuse him of weaponizing ethnicity. Government supporters call opponents disaster presidents and agents of instability. Critics call the president a hypocrite. One reverend wrote, "What troubles me most is the déjà vu. We fought hard against the manipulation of constitutional reform under the previous regime, only to witness the same playbook being dusted off and used again. The actors may have changed, but the script remains the same." So where does this leave us? Bill 7 is back in Parliament. The Select Committee is meeting. MPs are under immense pressure from all sides. The fate of this bill, and perhaps Zambia's democratic trajectory, will be decided in the coming weeks through pure parliamentary arithmetic. The opposition has appealed to the United Nations, African Union, and SADC. But international pressure rarely changes domestic political calculations. What matters is how MPs vote when the bill reaches the floor. This is not just about constitutional amendments. This is about whether Zambia can break free from cycles of elite-driven constitutional engineering. It's about whether the people's voice matters, or whether power simply rotates between those who know how to manipulate the system. The questions remain: why is the government rushing this process with an election months away? Why won't they release the delimitation report? Why bring back a bill the Constitutional Court already struck down? And why are those who once fought against authoritarian amendments now accused of imposing them? What the government isn't telling Zambians may be more important than what they're saying. Thank you for watching. I want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think about Bill 7? Do you believe the consultation process was genuine? Should Parliament proceed with a bill the Constitutional Court already invalidated? Share your thoughts. Let's keep this conversation going. We'll be back tomorrow with more coverage as this story continues to unfold. Until then, stay informed. Stay engaged. This is your democracy. I'm Nakash. This is InspirAfrica Official. Good day.